I'm Ashan Singh. It's Thursday, August 20th. You've got questions and we've got answers. This is Search, where we're breaking down what you're asking right now in real time. Let's get right to it. We've got a Maya Ephraim here. She oversees our online search trends. Maya, what's going on? What are people searching for today?
Hi, Ashan. Big news. News that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are moving back to the United Kingdom with their children is dominating search in the US and UK today, and people have a lot of questions. They're looking up why, when, and where are they moving. They want more details on Harry's relationship with King Charles and Prince William, but I'm also seeing a heavy interest in a refresher on Megxit, the term media used when the couple stepped back from the royal family. Turning to the markets, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices are surging after a high-level meeting at the White House yesterday. President Trump called on Congress to pass a bill that would bring clearer definitions to the growing crypto sector. People are now looking up news out of the meeting and for an explainer on Hyperliquid, which the president called out by name. And in food safety news, a major recall on organic frozen blueberries sold at regional retailers like Publix is driving lots of interest. People are looking up affected brand names and the states impacted after potential E. coli contamination concerns prompted the FDA recall.
All right, Maya, appreciate you. Let's check back with you in just a bit. Let's dive a little deeper into the story that you guys can't stop asking about. Prince Harry and Meghan planning to move back to the UK. We've got our Lama Hassan out here for more on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's return. Lama, thank you so much for joining us. Meghan and Harry, they're moving back to the UK. People are wondering, is the royal family reconciling?
Hey, Ashan, I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to answer that question. We don't know why they've decided to move now, and it's a question that many are asking, why now? What has prompted this move? Harry and Meghan have not released a statement commenting on why they're moving, so no word yet from the couple yet. But as for reconciliation, remember, Harry rushed back here after his father announced that his cancer diagnosis back in 2024, and he later told the BBC that he wants to reconcile with his family and that he missed being home. And, I think he wants to give his kids, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, a chance to get to know and experience his homeland. He's even said that in interviews before, he made that decision, before making that decision to move. He said, "It's sad that I won't be able to show my children my homeland." Well, I guess that's all going to change now with their move later this month. Harry's only seen the king a few times in the last year or so, and while Harry has been, building some bridges with his father, remember, he took his children to see him and Queen Camilla last month, and there really has been no talk of healing the rift with his brother, Prince William. And that remains a fraught relationship, Ashan.
Yeah, and Lama, we had heard Maya mention the breakout term Megxit is a big phrase on search today. People are wondering, why did the couple actually leave the UK in the first place?
Yeah, Ashan, I remember that story so well. 6 years ago, our jaws dropped, just like our jaws dropped last night when the news hit that they were going to move back to the UK. When we heard that Harry and Meghan had decided to leave the royal fold, leave their royal duties, leave the UK and head to California, it was a term that was coined by the British press at the time. They left because they both felt that the British tabloids were out to get them. They wanted to escape all of that. Harry said that he wanted to protect his family's mental health and safety. And don't forget that Harry is made it, very clear in the past that he doesn't like the British tabloids, especially after his mother, Princess Diana, died. He didn't want Meghan to go through what his mother did. And they also wanted to gain financial independence. And at the time, there was this so-called Sandringham Summit. They came up with a plan of still being part of the royal family, but sort of carrying out their royal duties abroad. The Queen said absolutely not. They packed up their bags and they moved to California.
And Lama, top of mind for searchers right now are where are they actually going to live, and are they going to be receiving royal security?
Yeah, so look, the king was not involved in the decision made by Harry and Meghan. We understand that. According to the Telegraph newspaper, that's one of the papers that broke the story, he only found out about their move on Sunday. He said to welcome the chance to spend more time with the Sussex family privately. We haven't heard from any other member of the royal family, notably his brother, Prince William. We did reach out to Kensington Palace today, and it was a no comment from them. So I think it's fair to say that that relationship relationship is still quite strained. As for where they're going to live, well, that's really anyone's guess. The only thing that they have said is that they are moving back to the UK later this month and that they will be living in a private, non-royal residence outside of London. As we've been reporting and reminding everyone all day, they chose to leave their royal duties, so they're not members of the royal family. They're not working members of the royal family, I should say. They're not really entitled to live in a royal residence, Ashan.
For sure. Lama Hassan, so good to see you. Appreciate you joining us. All right, let's get to President Trump's meeting with crypto leaders at the White House. We've got Stephen Portnoy covering this for us. Stephen, the searches are pretty rudimentary. They're searching Trump crypto meeting White House. What actually happened there, and what's the White House's goal here?
Yeah, Ashan, this happened yesterday, Wednesday. The president hosted the Innovation Advisory Committee of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Now, that's an agency that regulates some elements of crypto. A lot of top traders and bigwigs in the space were there. The event part of an administration effort to demonstrate that it's pro-crypto, and in particular, in support of a law that would firm up the regulatory landscape around crypto. That measure is called the Clarity Act. It passed the House with bipartisan support last month. It's up for a vote in the Senate next month. Democrats want strong provisions in the bill that would bar public officials from issuing digital coins while they're in office. And I should mention, there are negative views in the country toward the way the president and his family have personally profited from crypto. A Reuters Ipsos poll this week shows 63% believe it's inappropriate for the Trumps to be profiting the way they have, and 7 in 10 say they believe the president's decisions in office are influenced by his business interests.
And Stephen, I'm seeing a new term break out in search today that I actually didn't know before today. People are wondering what the president is actually saying about hyperliquid. What actually is that?
You guys put me through the ringer on this today. It's pretty complicated. Hyperliquid is a perpetual futures cryptocurrency exchange. It operates on its own blockchain, and it isn't a centralized exchange like Coinbase. Traders can bet on the price of assets without actually having to buy them. The president said yesterday that the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, is working to bring Hyperliquid here to the U.S. For the moment, though, the exchange is not available to American traders, and it's not clear how soon that might happen.
Yeah, and Stephen, people are also searching, what is the U.S. bond connection to crypto? Do we know?
Well, there's been a lot of turmoil this week in the bond markets. The 30-year Treasury yield saw its highest level since 2007 the other day. And that means investors want a greater premium for carrying long-term U.S. debt. It's typically a worrisome thing for investors. But cryptocurrency stocks surged today on the news this week that the Treasury Department would buy back more long-term bonds. The news saw Bitcoin jumping in value, and stocks like Coinbase went up as well.
Yeah, Bitcoin over 70K for the first time since June. Stephen Portnoy, thank you so much for the update, man. And time now to tee up the FDA recalling thousands of blueberries and issuing the highest level warning. I've got our Med Unit producer, Yuri Benajad, here for more on what we need to know. Yuri, appreciate you joining us, man, and I need you to put me at ease because I had some blueberries this morning. What's going on with this blueberry recall? What do we know about it?
Well, this recall was actually announced over a month ago, but now this week the FDA came out and said it's now a Class 1 recall, which is the highest level of classification that the agency has. It essentially means there are concerns about serious health issues or even death. Now, the blueberries we're talking about, Austin, here are frozen green-wise blueberries and also mixed berries. They were sold at public stores, and there's concerns that they were contaminated with E. coli. That's a type of bacteria. And with the specific type of E. coli we're talking about here with this outbreak, it can lead to a serious complication known as hemolytic uremic syndrome. And that can lead to issues with your blood vessels where they become damaged and inflamed, potentially even leading to kidney failure or even death. Now, luckily, we haven't heard of any deaths so far from this outbreak. We have heard of at least 12 illnesses, including 4 people that landed up in the hospital.
Yeah, Yuri, you had mentioned public supermarkets. What states are actually impacted by this recall of Greenwise organic blueberries?
So it's mostly stores actually that were located in the South. There's only 8 of them, so I'll just read them to you here.
Sure.
Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, both the Carolinas, Tennessee, and Virginia. Now, all of those stores have since pulled the products. They're unavailable for sale. But Austin, of course, the concern is because they're frozen, those Best By dates go all the way into early 2028. So you want to make sure you're checking your freezer. And if you have these blueberries or mixed berries, you're throwing them out.
Yeah, Yuri, I feel like every time we have one of these recalls, I need you to educate me on what the actual sickness is. Remind our viewers, what is E. coli and what are they at risk of when contracting it?
Yeah, E. coli is a bacteria. It's actually commonly found in the environment, in food, and water. There's different kinds. Some are actually harmless. They actually help us digest our food, provide vitamins, but in some cases they can make you ill. You can get sick after eating contaminated food, and that can lead to those common food poisoning symptoms you see on your screen here: stomach cramps, diarrhea, fever, nausea, vomiting, and that's why you hear of hundreds of thousands of illnesses every year from this bacteria.
Yeah, Yuri, so if we actually get E. coli, I mean, day's not over for me. So if you do contract E. coli, what should you actually do?
Well, I hope you don't get it, and luckily most people actually recover within about a week without any treatment needed. You want to make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids to avoid dehydration. The concern, of course, is those that are more at risk for severe illness, right? Younger children under the age of 5, older adults over the age of 65, and anyone with an immune-compromised condition. And then, of course, you want to look for those telltale signs that, signal you should probably go to the doctor. So if you're unable to keep water or food down for more than a couple of days, if your fever is over 102 degrees, over a couple of days, or if you see any blood when you're going to the bathroom, those are signs that you should talk to your doctor and see what kind of treatment you might have available to you.
Yuri Benajad, I'll keep you posted, man. Great reporting. Thanks for your time. We just ran through your top searches, but what else is on your timeline? Let's get back to Maya. Maya, what else is trending today?
Ashan, youth baseball takes center stage this week as the 2026 Little League World Series kicked off in Pennsylvania. Fans are looking up bracket schedules, game times, and matchups as international and U.S. teams begin the tournament. And Chipotle is running a back-to-school school spirit buy one, get one promotion today, letting customers in school gear get a free entree with a purchase. They're also offering a free entrees on 3 consecutive Sundays through a promo code. This had thousands of searches as people looked up their nearest participating Chipotle.
Chipotle is for the kids, man. I get it. Maya, appreciate you tons. Thanks so much. Coming up, one search always leads to another. We've got a trending topic, but that's just the surface. How the WNBA is addressing the transgender athlete debate. We have The Spiral. It's up next. Welcome back to Search. Today's top searches are only part of the story. A simple scroll can sometimes take you down a deep rabbit hole. It's time now for The Spiral. All right, and you guys can't stop asking questions about the WNBA, and we're following your clicks and curiosity, and it looks like you guys want to know about the debate over transgender athletes within the league, and more about the intersection of politics and sports. So let's break it down. We've got a fire lineup today. We've got Katie Barnes up first, and then LZ Granderson. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Let's start with the growing debate on whether transgender athletes can and should play professionally in the WNBA. We've got ESPN senior writer Katie Barnes joining me now. Katie, thank you so much for being here. So first of all, Sophie Cunningham has framed this whole thing as protecting women's sports. But there's never actually been a trans woman in the NBA. So why has this become such a flashpoint in the league right now?
So I think that really it's become a flashpoint because it's a flashpoint for us culturally. Sophie Cunningham shared her opinion in an article done on ESPN.com by a colleague of mine, Hallie Grossman, where she said that was the political opinion she felt most comfortable sharing, that she was supportive of keeping transgender girls and women out of girls and women's sports. But that doesn't mean that this is an active issue in the WNBA, because as you have stated, there has been no transgender woman who has competed in the WNBA and who is currently competing in the league.
For sure. And then you've got these former NBA players, Ines Kanter Freedom, Royce White. They're actually declaring for the WNBA draft. Do you mind explaining that to me? Because it appears like trolling online. But I'm wondering, does it actually expose any real ambiguity that the WNBA has in its policy, or is this just kind of political theater?
So I don't know Royce White or Ines Kanter Freedom, so I can't really speak to what's going on with them. But what I can say is that the WNBA does not have a publicly available policy governing transgender and intersex athlete participation and eligibility in the league. The only eligibility requirement that has been stipulated by the W is within the latest collective bargaining agreement, saying that women are eligible. But there's no further detail about what that means from a policy perspective as it pertains to transgender women and people with intersex variations, or for that matter, non-binary athletes or transgender men. And so there is a question mark about what the policy is, but that has nothing to do with Ines Kanter Freedom or Royce White.
For sure. And in response, the W actually pushed back and said it calls these bad faith attempts to exploit the issue. Where does the league actually go from here? Do they need to respond?
Well, so they've responded in saying that there is not an immediate eligibility concern, which points to the fact that they don't take the Ennis Cantor Freedom and Royce White situation seriously from an eligibility perspective. But there are ongoing conversations within the league among the various stakeholders about we moving forward. And so I think those conversations are going to continue, but we should expect them to be deliberate and thorough and not immediate.
Yeah, and Katie, so it feels like between the debates over race and increased chippiness in the league this year, and now this sort of trans athletes issue, it feels like the league has become a proxy for much more bigger cultural fights. Is this affecting the players and the leagues internally, the players and the teams internally, or is this becoming or is most of this noise coming from kind of outside the game?
You know, it's really interesting because when you're in the arena at a game, you don't feel any of this controversy that I certainly feel as somebody who is on social media. And so there is that dichotomy and duality from a fan experience perspective. If you are online and you're consuming this content, it feels like so much around the WNBA is really charged. But the players and the folks within the league, you know, they continuously say, we're trying to keep the main thing the main thing. That's the phrase they use, and focus on the game. And the on-court product is better than it ever has been. There's offensive records being set. It's great basketball. And so in that sense, the league has been unaffected.
Yeah, I feel like that microscope becomes the price of being so mainstream. Katie Barnes, thank you so much for joining us. Let's bring in Los Angeles Times op-ed columnist LZ Granderson. LZ, appreciate you being here, man. I was talking to Katie. There isn't currently a trans woman trying to play in the WNBA that we know of, nor has there ever been. Yet for some reason, it feels like a controversy that the league cannot shake. What does that actually tell you that this fight is about?
First of all, it's great to see you. And it's not for some reason, it's for a very specific reason, actually. And, you know, Malcolm X, you know, embodied this or encapsulated this reason himself very eloquently when he said the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. Why is that? Because she resides at the intersection of racism and sexism. What do you see when you see the WNBA? A lot of Black women. So it's no coincidence that you see a lot of direct disrespect and a lot of politicizing around the league because of who embodies the league.
Right, and in that same vein, LZ, it seems like more than any other professional sports league, it feels like the WNBA specifically keeps becoming a battlefield for these American culture wars, whether it be race, sexuality, voting rights, and now trans rights. Is that because of the same reason, like you're saying, Black women?
It's because it's one of the sports that's, you know, has a regular season, right? It started shortly after the mid-90s when, you know, the women broke through, led by like Lisa Leslie and that collection of you know, acolytes. They broke through and won the gold medal, and they set the stage to the professional women's league that we now have, the WNBA, the great, you know, commercial that they had, "We Got Next," let you know that it is now women's time to kind of step into this professional basketball league. And that and tennis are essentially the only times in which we regularly see women, particularly Black women, regularly on television being athletic. And so it's about the availability of seeing them. It's about being able to see them regularly. I don't know if you remember this or not, but, you know, Don Imus was a controversial / racist, you know, shock jock that targeted Rutgers basketball players, female basketball players, after they won the basketball championship. Venus and Serena Williams, two Black women who have been regularly on television for the past 20 years, have been regularly attacked with sexist and homophobic and transphobic remarks. So again, as I said at the beginning of this, it's not a coincidence why this keeps happening with the WNBA. We know exactly why.
And LZ, with regards to the trans athletes debate, it feels like a conversation that keeps getting co-opted. Can we have a legitimate conversation about fairness and sex-based categories in women's sports without that conversation becoming an attack on transgender people? Like, why as a country are we unable to separate the two?
Because of remarks like Cunningham's, and I don't mean to like you know, throw shade at her per se, but it's when you think about her comments, it makes it sound as if she had encountered numerous trans athletes in her past. Well, we know for a fact there's never been an openly trans person competing in the WNBA. And right now in the NCAA, out of the 500,000 student athletes, there are fewer than 10 openly trans athletes competing across all the sports. So what is she speaking of? It couldn't possibly be from personal experience. It sounds as if it's some sort of like, you know, catchphrase or some sort of politicized phrase that's been handed down from person to person to person as opposed to personal experience. So I would say, Ashin, that the first thing we need to do is speak from a place of true data and not allow politicians to usurp or take over these conversations and start passing bills that don't need to be passed, like banning trans athletes from girls' sports in a state that doesn't have any trans athletes in we've seen all of these things happen. But it really starts with separating, the BS from what's actually happening in real life.
LZ, always appreciate the context you provide, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Still ahead, it might be at the top of your feed, but what's the vibe? We've got your top pop culture and entertainment searches with Roxy Diaz, including a Fortnite update frenzy. We got the vibe check. Is next. It's time now for our vibe check, a look at what's buzzing in entertainment and pop culture. Our sis Roxy Diaz joins me now for more on what's trending on your feeds. Roxy, what's going on? What's the vibe?
So everybody that's like a Fortnite fan, just keep your skin on, okay? It's gonna be all right. If you couldn't drop into Fortnite this morning, you're not alone, but don't panic. It's not broken. Epic Games took the servers offline at 2 a.m. Eastern for scheduled maintenance to roll out a new update. But Fortnite's Chapter 7 Season 4 title Override is now online. But before that, matchmaking, login parties, and the item shop all went completely dark. Consider it a forced screen break, but players now have new weapons and maps to explore, so have fun. A significant development in the story that stunned Hollywood. Sources tell ABC News the DEA is joining the investigation in the death of Hayden Panettiere, with South Carolina's Greenville City Police Department remaining the lead agency. The Heroes in Nashville star died Sunday at 36, and the coroner's office says the cause and manner of death remain pending further investigation. An autopsy report revealing no signs of trauma. Toxicology results could take weeks. Panettiere had been open about her struggles with mental health and substance abuse in her recently released memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning. Tributes continue to pour in from castmates and fans. Now, Sandra Bullock is opening up for the first time about the loss of her partner, Brian Randall. He died 3 years ago after battling ALS at 57 years old. Bullock revealing on the Smartless podcast that the world never knew he was sick, saying, "He asked me not to share. I know why he asked me not to." She goes on to say honoring that wish isolated her in the process. Bullock, who once called Randall the love of her life, is now slowly returning to the spotlight ahead of Practical Magic 2, a love kept private, a grief finally spoken, and a reminder of what caregivers carry in silence. And last but not least, one of hip-hop's biggest legal battles starts today. Jury selection begins in the Lil Durk federal murder for hire trial, nearly 2 years after his arrest. Prosecutors allege the Chicago rapper ordered members of his OTF crew to kill rival Quando Rondo in an alleged retaliation for a 2020 killing of his close friend King Von. Rondo survived the 2022 gas station shooting in LA, but another man was killed. Durk faces 7 charges, including murder in aid of racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder for hire. He maintains his innocence and denies ever putting out a bounty. If convicted, he faces up to life in prison. Ash, this is one case that the entire hip-hop culture is definitely going to be keeping their eye out on.
I know we're all going to be watching, especially such a talented artist like Lil Durk, who had so much promise. But Roxy, I know that you were tight this morning when Fortnite was down. I heard you were trying to play, couldn't get on the servers.
My skin wasn't skinning, Ash. What can I say? I was so devastated.
Roxy, appreciate you, sis. Thanks so much. All right, I'm Ashin Singh, and this is Searched on ABC News Live, where your questions meet real answers. We'll leave you with what's trending right now on abcnews.com. You can scan that QR code right there to catch up, and I'm going to see you back here tomorrow. Be safe.